What if I told you that the most powerful response isn't a long message, a desperate plea, or an emotional outburst? What if I told you that the strongest thing you could say is nothing at all? She expected a reaction. She thought you'd beg. She thought you'd chase, plead, try to explain yourself. Anything to make her reconsider. She believed she had the upper hand because she assumed you couldn't handle the silence. But instead of breaking down, you did something she never saw coming. You disappeared. And now, that silence, the very thing she never thought you were capable of, is speaking louder than any words ever could. Most men collapse when their heart is broken. They write long, heartfelt messages, hoping to remind her of the good times. They ask for answers. They seek closure. They try to resurrect a dead connection, thinking nostalgia will breathe life back into it. But all that does is expose one fatal truth. He's still emotionally available. And in the game of attraction, emotional availability, especially to someone who has already walked away, is a weakness, not a strength. But you are about to do something different. You're about to shift from the mindset of the desperate to the mindset of the stoic. You will not beg. You will not chase. You will not search for explanations that don't matter. Because here's the truth, you don't need them. A man who knows his worth does not waste time convincing someone else of it. A man who understands his value does not prove it through words. He proves it through his absence. The moment you stop giving her the attention she expected, the power dynamic shifts. She begins to feel the void. The silence grows, and with it, doubt creeps in. Did I make the right choice? Why isn't he fighting for me? Did he ever really care? And that moment of doubt, that is more powerful than anything you could have ever said. But understand this isn't just about making her regret her decision. This isn't about playing games. This is about you. This is about stepping into the version of yourself that no longer waits for validation. This is about self-respect. This is about strength. This is about becoming a man who is so solid, so grounded, so internally powerful that the world bends around him, not the other way around. She thought you would break. She thought you would wait. What she never expected was your silence. And that silence? It's breaking her. If you're done feeling powerless, if you're ready to step into your strength, if you're ready to reclaim your sense of self, then make the decision now. Because real power isn't found in words. It's found in knowing when to say nothing at all. 1. Vanish like smoke. Let her feel the cold. There is nothing more unsettling than silence. Nothing more powerful than absence. She expected anger, maybe even tears. She thought you'd chase, plead, try to fix what was already broken. But instead, she got nothing. And now that nothing is consuming her. Here's the truth. People don't value what they think they'll always have. As long as she believes you're waiting in the background, she has no reason to miss you. No reason to question her choice. No reason to feel your absence. But the moment you vanish, the moment you become a ghost in her world, everything shifts. Now, she doesn't have the certainty she once did. You are no longer predictable, no longer available. And the human mind? It craves what it can't have. A man's presence can be ignored, but his absence? That lingers. Disappearing is not weakness. It's not surrender. It is the most strategic move you can make. It forces her to sit with her own decision, to feel the weight of what she walked away from. She thought you would chase, but instead, you showed her something far more terrifying. You don't need her. And let me tell you something. The moment a woman realizes that the man she expected to break is completely fine without her, doubt creeps in. She starts replaying the relationship in her head, questioning if she took you for granted. She wonders if she made a mistake. And that thought, it haunts her. But here's where most men fail. If your silence is just a game, a tactic to get her attention, you've already lost. Women can sense desperation even in silence. If you're waiting for her to notice, to reach out, to miss you, she won't. True power comes from truly letting go. You must understand this. Your value does not decrease just because she failed to see it. A diamond remains priceless whether someone recognizes it or not. A king does not beg to be acknowledged. Walking away is not about making her miss you. It's about ensuring you never lower yourself for someone who didn't appreciate you in the first place. Disappear, not to make her chase you, not to prove a point, but because your time, your energy, and your peace are things you will never beg for someone to value. She thought you'd beg. She thought you'd plead. But now, your silence is breaking her. 2. Hold the reins. Let the wind blow. She made her choice. She walked away. Now, you have two options. Waste your energy trying to change what's already done, or channel that energy into something that actually serves you. A man who understands this is a man who cannot be broken. There are things in life you control, and there are things you don't. The moment you learn to separate the two, you become untouchable. You cannot control how she feels. You cannot control her decisions. But what you can control is yourself, how you respond, how you carry yourself, and the kind of man you become after this. That is where your power lies. So stop overthinking. Stop replaying every conversation, every text, every little detail, searching for answers that don't matter. The moment she walked away, the situation left your hands. And now, your only job is to focus on what's still within your control. Your mindset, your growth, your peace. Every second you spend dwelling on her is a second stolen from your own self-improvement. Every thought wasted on what could have been is energy you could be using to build what will be. The man who masters his emotions masters his life. And that, my friend, is what separates the weak from the strong. It's like standing in a storm. You can't control the wind, the rain, or the lightning. But you can control whether you stand firm or let yourself be swept away. The man who tries to fight the storm only exhausts himself. The man who stands his ground, lets the chaos pass, and moves forward, he is unstoppable. And here's the irony. When you stop trying to control the outcome, when you finally let go, that's when the power shifts. That's when she starts to notice. Because while she expected you to fight for her, to hold on, to cling to the past, you did something far more powerful. You moved forward without hesitation. And that's something she never prepared for. She thought you'd wait. She thought you'd break. But instead, you chose yourself. 3. Cold as stone, gone like the tide. Nothing unsettles a woman more than realizing she no longer has control over your emotions. That's what true indifference does. It strips away the power she once had over you. She expected you to care, to still be watching, still be hoping, still be affected by her absence. But now, when she looks at you, nothing. No reaction, no desperation, no sign that she even crosses your mind. And that is what drives her insane. Emotions create attachment. The moment you react, whether it's with anger, sadness, or bitterness, you're still showing that you care. And as long as she knows she still affects you, she has nothing to miss. But when you detach, when you become indifferent, the roles reverse. Suddenly, she's the one wondering, did he ever really love me? Has he already replaced me? Was I never that important to him? Indifference forces her to sit with her own emotions because she no longer has yours to feed off. It forces her to reflect, to question, to feel the emptiness of losing a man who doesn't look back. And that silence, that emotional vacuum, it lingers in her mind like an unfinished sentence, like a song that never resolves. And here's the real kicker. When a woman starts to feel like she's losing her hold on you, she will test you. She might post things just to get your attention, carefully crafted messages designed to pull a response from you. She might send a random text, pretending to check in, just to see if you still care. But a man who understands his worth doesn't fall for it. He remains untouchable. He doesn't need to block her, delete her, or prove anything, because he is already beyond her reach. Indifference isn't an act. It's not pretending. It's the moment you truly realize you do not need her validation, that her leaving didn't break you, it freed you. And when you carry that energy, when you embody that level of self-respect, people feel it. She will feel it. And the moment she realizes she lost a man who no longer cares, that's when the regret begins. She thought you'd react. She thought she still had a place in your mind. But your indifference, it's haunting her. 4. A ghost. She can't bring back. At first, she didn't take it seriously. She thought you were just giving her space, waiting for the right moment to reach out. Maybe licking your wounds, still orbiting around her, still an option when she was ready. But then, nothing. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly it hit her. You're really gone. That's the moment regret starts creeping in, slow but suffocating. Because the truth is, she never expected you to disappear completely. She assumed she could move at her own pace, that no matter where she went or who she entertained, you'd always be there. She thought she had time, but when she finally looks over her shoulder and you're not there, a terrifying thought enters her mind. Did I just lose a man who actually mattered? Most men make it easy for her to take them for granted. They leave the door open, even if just a crack. They respond when she checks in. They fall for the breadcrumbs, the little "how have you been" messages, the casual likes on social media, the meaningless small talk meant to keep them on a leash. They let her know, even subtly, that she still has a place in their heart. And as long as she senses that, she has nothing to miss. But when you vanish without hesitation, when you move forward like she never existed, when she realizes the option she once had is no longer available, that's when reality hits her like a train. And let me tell you something. The human mind has a cruel way of making the past seem better than it actually was. She will start to romanticize, to replay the moments that once seemed ordinary. She will remember the way you made her feel, see you in a new light, not because she's changed, but because the absence of you is louder than the presence of anyone else. And here's where most men fail. When she reaches out, when she throws out that desperate last-ditch "I miss you" just to see if the door is still open, they take the bait. They see it as a victory, proof that their silence worked. They think they've won. But what they don't realize is that the real power move isn't making her miss you. It's making sure she understands you are never coming back. A king does not reopen doors that he has already closed. A man who knows his worth doesn't return to what once rejected him. He doesn't look back. She thought you would wait forever. But the truth, you were already gone long before she realized it. 5. From ashes to iron, she won't recognize you now. She thought you were just licking your wounds. She assumed you were sitting there, waiting, trying to find the right excuse to reach out. In her mind, it was only a matter of time before you cracked, before that "I miss you" text found its way to her phone, before you showed up, just like she expected. But instead, you disappeared. You didn't stay in the past, frozen in the version of yourself she walked away from. No, you vanished into the shadows. And what emerged on the other side? A man she no longer recognizes. Because while she was busy assuming you were suffering, you were building. While she expected you to drown in heartbreak, you were rising. The pain didn't consume you, it transformed you. You took the silence and turned it into focus. You didn't just move on, you leveled up. And now, the man she left no longer exists. Most people expect a breakup to break you. They expect you to stay the same, to remain trapped in the same emotional state they left you in. But the moment you start improving, mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, you shift the entire dynamic. Now, you're not the man who lost her. You're the man she lost. And that's a reality she never prepared for. She can feel it, whether through mutual friends, glimpses on social media, or just that unshakable feeling in her gut. She knows you've changed. And nothing haunts a woman more than realizing that the man she walked away from was just a preview of the man he was about to become. She never thought you'd outgrow her absence. She never thought your silence would build something greater. But now, she has to face a truth she wasn't ready for. You are no longer within reach. And here's where most men fail. They make the mistake of leveling up for her. They grind just to prove a point, just to one day make her regret leaving. And that's weakness. You don't do this for her. You don't grow to make a statement. You do this because you refuse to be the man who stays stagnant, because your potential is far greater than any temporary heartbreak. Because at the end of the day, your success, your peace, your growth, these are things no one can ever take from you. A man who transforms in silence doesn't need validation. He doesn't need applause. And when she finally looks at you again, when she sees what you've become, she won't just regret leaving. She won't even recognize you. 6. The hunter becomes the hunted. She thought she had the power. She thought you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, lingering in the background, ready for the day she might change her mind. She assumed that no matter where she went, no matter who she entertained, you would always be an option. But now, something strange is happening. The roles are reversing. And the very thing she once ran from, she can't stop thinking about it. Why? Because humans crave what they can't have. That's basic psychology. The moment you remove yourself as an option, the moment you stop seeking, stop waiting, stop reacting, you trigger something deep inside her subconscious. Scarcity. And scarcity creates value. It's no different from a luxury brand. When something is always available, always within reach, people take it for granted. But the second they realize it's rare, that it might never be obtainable again, its value skyrockets. And now, she's feeling it. The man she thought she could replace isn't just gone, he's unattainable. And that realization? That's when the chase begins. It starts small, a random like, a comment, a casual message that says nothing but means everything. She's testing the waters, trying to see if she still has access to you. But let's be clear, it's not about love, it's about control. She's trying to confirm that she still has an effect on you, that if she ever wanted to pull you back, she could. But a man who understands his worth doesn't fall for it. Because here's the truth, if she truly wanted you, she wouldn't be testing your availability. She'd be proving hers. She wouldn't be fishing for validation. She'd be showing regret. And until that happens, you owe her nothing. No response, no reaction, no explanation. The second you stop chasing, you force her to face the reality of her own choices. You make her question everything. And that shift, that loss of control, that's what makes her want you more than ever. Not because you played a game, not because you manipulated the situation, but because you became the prize. She thought she was in control, but now she's the one who's chasing. 7. The man who stands when others fall. She expected you to break. She thought you'd sit in the ruins of what was, waiting, hoping, desperate for another chance. She assumed her absence would weaken you, that you'd fold under the weight of missing her. But what she never saw coming? You became the kind of man who doesn't need her, or anyone, to feel whole. Because here's the truth: the most powerful man in the room isn't the loudest. He isn't the most aggressive or the most reactive. He is the one who is emotionally untouchable. The man who cannot be manipulated by compliments or destroyed by rejection. The man who remains calm, unbothered, unshaken, no matter what happens. That is a stoic alpha. A man who is ruled by reason, not emotion. A man who walks away without hesitation when he is not valued. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's not about playing games. It's about becoming the man who is so internally grounded that nothing outside of him can break him. A breakup, an insult, a rejection, they do not faze him, because he knows something deeper than fleeting emotions. His worth is not determined by anyone's validation. And that kind of energy? It's magnetic. It shifts the way people see you. It commands respect without a single word. Because people, especially women, are drawn to strength. And there is nothing stronger than a man who cannot be broken by loss. A woman may not always know what she wants, but she knows what she doesn't want. She doesn't want weakness. She doesn't want desperation. She doesn't want neediness. She may not even realize it consciously, but she will always gravitate toward the man who is self-sufficient. The man who wants her but does not need her. That is the man she cannot forget. That is the man who lingers in her mind long after she's gone. That is the man who makes her wonder, what does he have that makes him so unshaken? And that is the moment everything shifts. When you stop looking for approval, when you stop explaining yourself, when you realize that you are the source of your own power, your own peace, your own success. That's when you become the kind of man who never has to chase again. She thought you'd stay weak, but instead, you became untouchable. 8. Silence isn't a strategy. It's who you are now. She thought your silence was temporary. She thought it was a game, a tactic to get a reaction. She assumed that sooner or later you'd slip up, check in, break the silence, prove that she still had some control over you. But here's what she doesn't understand. No contact isn't a strategy. It's a standard, a lifestyle, a new way of being. A man who truly values himself does not keep doors open for people who walked away. He doesn't wait for breadcrumbs, doesn't linger in the past, doesn't hope for closure or a moment of weakness just to feel validated. He walks away because he understands one thing with absolute clarity. The past is the past, and anything that belongs there has no place in his future. This is where most men fail. They go silent with expectations. They think if they stay quiet long enough, she'll come back. And maybe she will. But the real power move? It's when you no longer care whether she does or not. Because when you remove the expectation, when you stop seeing silence as a manipulation tool and start seeing it as a boundary, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop thinking of her at all. And that's when the transformation happens. Not when she notices your silence, but when you realize it doesn't matter if she does. No contact isn't about playing chess with her emotions. It isn't a tactic to make her regret leaving. It's a declaration that you will never again beg for someone who failed to see your worth. And that's what breaks her the most. Not the silence itself, but the realization that the silence is permanent. That she is no longer a factor in your world. That she could reach out, test the waters, throw breadcrumbs your way, and still, you will never come back. Not now. Not ever. She thought this was temporary. But you? You've already moved on. 9. The door she thought was open no longer exists. At some point, the silence gets to her. The absence becomes unbearable. And suddenly, she starts searching for a way back in. Maybe it's a simple, "Hey, how have you been?" Maybe it's a random like on an old photo. Maybe she even sends a long, emotional apology, telling you she's been thinking about you, that she misses what you had. And this is where most men fail. They see her return as a victory. They think, "I won. My silence worked. Now I can finally have her back." But here's the real question. Do you even want her back? Think about it. If she left, if she walked away, if she made the conscious decision that life was better without you, then why should she get a second chance now? Because she feels lonely? Because she suddenly realizes she made a mistake? Because she wants to see if she still has access to you? A man who has mastered himself does not let people come and go from his life like a revolving door. He does not allow someone who abandoned him to return whenever it's convenient for them. He does not entertain those who only miss him when they see him thriving. And if she doesn't come back, even better, because that means the universe just confirmed what you already knew. She was never meant for the man you are becoming. Either way, the outcome is the same. You win, whether she regrets it or not, whether she tries to come back or never speaks to you again. It makes no difference, because by the time she realizes what she lost, you will be so far ahead, so evolved, so deeply invested in your own growth that her absence will no longer matter. She thought she had a way back in, but the truth is, you've already closed the do 10, the man who outgrew the past. In the end, the goal was never to make her regret leaving. It was never about proving a point, reversing the roles, or making her miss you. The goal was always bigger than her. It was about becoming so focused on your own life, your own success, your own happiness, that none of it even matters anymore. That is the final move. Not caring whether she regrets it or not. Not needing closure. Not seeking revenge. Not waiting for her to finally realize what she lost. Because by the time she does, you're already so far ahead, so deeply invested in the man you've become, that even if she begged to come back, you wouldn't even flinch. This is where you break free. This is where you step into a reality where you are the prize. Where your mission, your purpose, your vision for the future is so strong that no one, not her, not anyone, can shake your foundation. You start traveling, building, creating. You stop replaying the past because your energy is now spent on the limitless potential of your future. You become a man so powerful in his own existence that even if she never realizes what she lost, you don't care. Because you have gained something far more valuable: peace, purpose, mastery. And that is the real victory. Not winning her back, not making her see your worth, but becoming so whole, so untouchable, so fulfilled in your own growth that she becomes irrelevant. She thought you would beg. She thought you would crumble. She thought you would sit there, waiting, hoping, desperate for the day she might change her mind. But instead, you disappeared. You built. You evolved. And now you are untouchable. This is what stoic power looks like. A man who controls himself, who controls his emotions, who controls his own destiny. A man who does not look back, who does not wait, who does not chase. A man who understands that loss is not an ending. It is an opportunity to rise, to become greater than ever before. And that is exactly what you did. You mastered yourself. You elevated beyond the need for closure, beyond the need for validation, beyond the need to prove anything to anyone. You became the kind of man she and the world cannot ignore. She thought you would suffer, but instead, you thrived.